Hola a todos! What's up, everybody? My name is Pablo Roa, and I'm the Senior Manager of Video here at Indivisible. Thank you so much for tuning into episode 4 of Indivisible Weekly, your go-to place for finding out everything you need to know about the Indivisible movement and what we're doing to win in November. I want to start off this week's episode by thanking everyone who took part in our incredible week of action last week. As we talked about in episode 3, which you can watch right up here if you missed it, last week was a huge week at Indivisible because we kicked off our Indivisible general election program. And we kicked it off in just about the best way possible, a massive nationwide week of action. Indivisible groups from all across the country hosted over 300 virtual events and reached out to almost 750,000 voters. You all did that, and it was incredible. I mean, this is the type of grassroots, people-led organizing that Indivisibles have been doing for almost 4 years, and it's the reason why we're going to win in November. So thank you to everyone who took part in our week of action last week and helped make our Indivisible launch a huge success. And if you missed out on events last week, don't worry, we are just getting started, and there are plenty of ways you can get involved right now and throughout the election cycle. All you need to do is go to 2020.indivisible.org, and once you're there, you'll see all the different ways you can get involved right now to help us beat Donald Trump, flip the Senate, and save our democracy this November. Now, if you're anything like me right now, you are laser focused on winning this election, and you're trying to not even think about next year or what could happen if we win. And I don't blame you. I mean, if we don't win in November, which is another thing I try not to think about, none of the things we're fighting for will happen. None. We have to win. That's step one, and it should be our focus right now. But with all the stress that goes into an election, especially the last few months before an election, it's important to remember why you're doing all this work in the first place, why you're spending your weekends calling and texting voters, or having tough conversations with your friends and family about the election, or having 6 cups of coffee a day. Or, okay, maybe that's just me. You're doing this because this election matters, because it's personal, because it's not just about defeating Donald Trump. It's about paving the way for a new era of democracy in this country. It's about electing leaders who will fight for real progressive change. It's about making the country and the world tomorrow a better place than it is today. So yes, we have a lot of work to do to defeat Donald Trump, but we have to allow ourselves to think about the day after Donald Trump is no longer president and all the incredible things we'll be able to accomplish after we win in November. And one of those things is DC statehood. Now, as you might remember, House Democrats passed a historic bill earlier this summer to make DC the 51st state. Unfortunately, as long as Mitch McConnell and his Republican friends control the Senate and the White House, that bill will never become law. But it was exciting, and it demonstrated all the progress we've made in the fight for DC statehood. So after the bill passed, we put out a survey to see just how far we've come and just how many of you are with us in this fight. And it turns out a whole lot of you are. I mean, to the tune of 96%. That's right, 96% of Indivisibles are in favor of DC statehood. 85% of you said that a democracy reform package would be incomplete without DC statehood, and a whopping 77% of you said DC statehood should be a top priority in the Biden administration. And we agree. I mean, don't forget, DC statehood isn't just a democracy issue, it's a racial justice issue. The protests that have been happening all around the country since George Floyd's murder have shed light on all the different ways Black people in this country have been shut out of our democracy. And the fact that 700,000 residents of DC, a historically Black city, have no real representation in Congress is one of the clearest examples of structural racism that we have in this country. So the fact that so many of you, again, 96%, are standing with us in this fight for DC statehood is huge. And again, it makes us excited about that day after Donald Trump. And just one more thought about that day after Donald Trump before I get back to what we're actually doing to defeat him in November. In order for DC statehood to happen, or for many of the other progressive policies we're fighting for to have any chance of becoming law, the Senate needs to eliminate the filibuster. We've been beating this drum for years because we know that Republican obstruction in the Senate can tank our entire legislative agenda, even if we have a majority. But this is another issue that's been gaining steam, and a huge example of that happened last week when President Barack Obama spoke at John Lewis's funeral about all the different ways that we need to honor John Lewis with action, including abolishing the filibuster.
And if all this takes eliminating the filibuster, another Jim Crow relic, in order to secure the God-given rights of every American, then that's what we should do.
By the way, if you haven't had a chance to watch President Obama's full speech at John Lewis's funeral, you should absolutely go check it out. You can click the link right up here to watch it. It was maybe one of the best speeches Obama has ever given, and it was a touching and fitting tribute to an American hero. Also, it's Barack Obama's birthday today, so a big happy birthday to President Obama. Anyway, going back to what he was actually saying, President Obama's right. We need to abolish the filibuster if we want to achieve real, lasting change in this country, including if we want to secure the universal voting rights that John Lewis spent his entire life fighting for. So let's make this a reality. Visit 2020.indivisible.org right now and make your voice heard so that we can abolish the filibuster and enact real structural change in 2021. So now that you've allowed yourself to get excited for the day after Donald Trump, let's get back to what we're doing to make that day possible. As I've said time and time again, you can go to 2020.indivisible.org to get involved with our Indivisible program right now. But we also want to make sure you sign up for a big event that's coming up this weekend, our 2020 Indivisible Bootcamp. Now, I am super excited for this bootcamp. It's going to be a jam-packed virtual gathering where we'll strategize about our electoral work and sharpen our skills to not only win this November, but to build power in 2021 so that we can actually do all the different things that we've talked about in all of these episodes. So click the link in the description, go sign up. Whether you are a budding activist or an experienced group leader, we have sessions designed just for you. You don't want to miss this. Now, every single day that we're living through this pandemic with this president is a reminder of just how important our work is right now. So whether you're going to our boot camp this weekend or heading over to 2020.indivisible.org to get involved, our work is so crucial because lives are on the line. A few days ago, we passed another somber milestone in the coronavirus pandemic, which has now claimed over 155,000 lives. 155,000 people are dead. And the devastating fact that so many of these deaths were preventable continues to weigh on all of us. And yet, Senate Republicans are still going out of their way to do nothing about it, or nothing real anyway. We talked a little last week about the HEALS Act, the Health, Economic Assistance, Liability Protection, and Schools Act, which is Mitch McConnell's embarrassing response to the HEROES Act, a bill that we support that House Democrats passed 81 days ago. The HEALS Act is an absolute non-starter. It's honestly impressive how absurdly terrible the bill is. It does nothing to actually fight the pandemic itself, nor does it do anything to help people who have suffered financially from the pandemic. It also includes zero funding for elections, zero funding for the post office, and it slashes unemployment benefits from $600 to $200. It also promotes the interests of corporations over everyday people. I mean, seriously, the words liability protection are literally in the name of the bill. You can't make this stuff up. Now, compare the HEALS Act to the HEROES Act, which, again, has been sitting on McConnell's desk for 81 days. The HEROES Act does contain funding for elections, $3.6 billion. This funding is crucial to ensure that we have free, fair, and safe elections. The HEROES Act also includes measures for protecting public health, providing financial relief for those who need it, and it includes immigrants. Now, the HEROES Act isn't perfect, but it would make an immediate impact in helping us fight this pandemic and protect our elections this November. So we need you to keep putting pressure on the Senate to pass the HEROES Act right now. Click the link in the description below and call your senators. Demand that they pass the HEROES Act. We are running out of time to keep people safe and protect our democracy. Congress needs to act right now. Speaking of protecting our democracy, you might have seen the president's latest authoritarian stunt, where he took to Twitter to suggest that we delay the November 3rd election. Now, the president can't do that, and his reasoning for floating this ridiculous idea is based on lies that I won't repeat here. But I'll tell you this. We know the president is going to do whatever he can to try to delegitimize the November 3rd election. I mean, we've known that all along. He'll spread lies, he'll try to scare us with fake threats, he'll continue to do his horrible thing. But we're not going to let him get away with it. We are building a coalition of voters that is going to be ready to mobilize if and when Donald Trump refuses to accept the results of the election. And we need your help. Visit protecttheresults.com right now, add your name, and help us save our democracy from the threat that is Donald Trump. We are counting on you. Thanks so much for tuning into this week's episode of Indivisible Weekly. We covered a lot in this episode, and that's because there are so many exciting things happening right now throughout the Indivisible movement. And if you want to learn more, you should absolutely tune into our national activist call this Thursday, August 6th at 8 p.m. I'll put the link in the description below. Make sure you check it out, sign up. You don't want to miss this call on Thursday. And be sure to check out the other links in the description as well. We have some text bank trainings happening this week and next week, our boot camp, which we talked about earlier in the episode, and we also have our soapbox page where you'll be able to record a video telling us why you're in this fight and why this election is personal to you. Thanks again for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, share this episode with your friends and family, and check back here next week for a brand new episode of Indivisible Weekly. Gracias. Adios.